used to cost quarters. Food used to cost a couple quarters. Like, yes, we had the quarter bags of chips. It said 25 cents on the bag. Like, they printed them like that. Food used to cost change. And I want us to remember that, because what food has become, especially like the new foods that they're bringing out that are just like weird food-esque things, like the real food used to cost quarters, change, couple nickels, a couple dimes to get you fed. Like, I'm not kidding you. The concept of bread costing more than $1.50, to me, I have to cope with. Because I mean, you used to be able to, on sale, 75 cents for a loaf of bread. I was born in 96. These memories are from the early 2000s.
This new report from the New York Fed shows what they call a remarkable rise in food insecurity, especially among those living paycheck to paycheck. And it's especially troubling because it impacts those with young children. Between late 2025 and early 2026, there was a sharp rise in households reporting that they had to skip meals, use food banks, and rely on SNAP benefits or dip into savings to cover their groceries, which are now 2.9% more expensive than a year ago. 10% of households surveyed in February said they didn't have enough food or their kids had to miss meals. That is more than double what we saw in mid-2020. And remember, back then it was the pandemic. What's also clear is that some of the financial pain is masked by the growing wealth in this country, which is brought on by a booming stock market and increasing home values. Those Americans who own stocks and homes, they feel richer and they're spending still, and that's propping up the economy, while millions of Americans are struggling just to afford food after years of inflation and now those rising gas prices too.
Americans, MAGA, are realizing what it means to run America as a business. They are furious. Everything skyrocket. They are complaining. They are regretting why they voted for Mr. Donald Sleep Trump. Let us see what they are saying.
$50 to make homemade hamburgers?
This is what $10 worth of groceries looks like.
This was $200.
Pump stops at 150. I'm not even at 3/4 of a tank.
I just spent $70 on a tank of gas.
I just paid $6.99 for a bag of chips that was filled a quarter way with chips and 75% air.
I want to remind you that in this last year, Donald Trump's wealth has increased threefold. He's up to almost $8 billion. Don Jr., his wealth increased sixfold. He's at $50 million. And Eric Trump, the big winner, his wealth increased tenfold to almost $500 million in 1 year. And MAGA wants to know, what's the big master plan? Trump's playing 5D chess. I'll tell you exactly what that master plan is. It is to extract as much money from you as fucking possible. That's why Trump was sued 3,000 times by small businesses, because they did work and Trump refused to pay him. Trump University got sued because he was fucking scamming students, selling them 3-day real estate classes, the gold package, for $35,000 and not delivering anything. His charity got shut down because Trump was taking money that was meant for children and veterans, and he bought himself a $10,000 self-portrait. The plan never changed. And now these motherfuckers are trying to change voting laws and gerrymandering so that they stay in power, so that your fucking vote don't matter. If you feel like your voting rights are infringed upon, or you feel intimidated, or you feel like something's not right, you call these people up, because they are collecting evidence for a massive lawsuit against the federal government. Because make no mistake, these motherfuckers want to stay in power. No matter what, they want to stay in power. And we cannot let them. Why the fuck is the Trump administration suing Washington State? Because they passed a law that would require clergy to report instances of child abuse, including child SA. That's right. Washington State passed a law that requires faith leaders to report instances of child abuse to law enforcement, just like teachers, doctors, nurses, mental health professionals, law enforcement officers, anybody in a leadership position. And Trump is suing them for that. And here's the fucking insulting part, is Trump is calling this law anti-Catholic when it involves all faith leaders of any religion. And I'm not even going to get into the fucking Catholic jokes, because those jokes exist for a reason. And that reason is because clergy are not fucking qualified to stop child predators. Because here's what happens. A man confesses to his priest that he's been molesting 10 kids, and that priest goes, shh, 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 don't tell nobody that. Don't tell them. It's gonna make us look bad. And then that guy goes home and just does it again, and everybody knows about it, and nobody fucking says shit, because that's how child abuse happens. Remember, secrets only protect molesters. They don't protect children, you fucking idiot. God damn. Did you know that the right to protest in China is guaranteed by their constitution? But nobody dares speak out against the regime. Let me make very clear. Protesting will never be illegal. But do you dare speak out against a regime that will strip you of your citizenship for speaking out? That right now is doing midnight raids on American citizens' homes using a federal secret police. A regime that deploys its military against its citizens. A regime that wants to purge disloyal judges. A regime that is loyalty purging federal civil servants. A regime that demands loyalty from a free press. And when they refuse, you strip them of their access. A regime that declares emergencies to circumvent the Constitution and go around our checks and balances. A regime that legitimately tried to overthrow a fucking election. Are you insane? Are you fucking insane? And most importantly, a regime that has labeled anybody that speaks out against them as an enemy of the state. And anybody that is against fascism is a fucking terrorist. Do you dare speak out against that kind of fucking regime? Hell yeah, I do.
So, since Liberation Day, there's about $175 billion in tariff revenue that is now in limbo. Do you have to refund $175 billion?
Think of it, Peter. Very fair question. We've taken in hundreds of billions of dollars, not millions, hundreds of billions of dollars.
No. That's not what you've been saying. You haven't been saying we've been taking in billions of dollars. Let me refresh your memory.
We're taking in trillions of dollars from tariffs. $18 trillion. $18 trillion. $18 trillion. Because of the tariffs, we've taken in more than think of this, $18 trillion.
You're not lying, are you? Because if you're not, and we did bring in $18 trillion, you owe us some money. Hey, chat, how many taxpayers are there in the United States?
As of the 2022 tax year, there were about 153.8 million individual income tax returns.
Hey, chat, what is $18 trillion divided by 153?
This one is saying why she can't afford grocery anymore. Who am I blaming? Blame Donald Trump. Let us listen to what she said.
Somebody needs to explain to me why I can't afford this ground beef. I go into the supermarket, okay, because I'm looking for some ground beef for my lasagna and also for my spaghetti. I found the ground beef. Why is it $30? Who can afford that? And don't get me started on the chuck roast. The chuck roast is like $15 per pound. You guys, that is insane. What happened to groceries becoming more affordable? What the hell? That's an affordable lie. Like, I am so disgusted right now. Dinner canceled because I can't even afford the beef for the dang on lasagna.
Baby, groceries ain't high no more. Groceries are in a hostile relationship with my bank account. Every time I go to the grocery store, I feel like I walked in a luxury boutique by accident. I pick up tomatoes and suddenly I'm holding produce like it's fine jewels or something. Tomatoes are up 40% from last year. And then the experts say this still ain't the worst of it yet, because the prices we see right now, they don't reflect what's happening right now in relation to the war with Iran and within the Strait of Hormuz. The prices you see today are not based on that conflict that's happening today. And that matters because fuel, fertilizer, shipping, all that stuff is tied to your plate because all of it impacts how your food is created. When fuel goes up, groceries start acting like a celebrity, like they need a manager. And ain't it funny how wars always end up billing regular people like you and me? We out here just trying to buy eggs and meat. But the grocery store got us budgeting like we applied for some type of federal aid or something and we got to watch our pennies. I want to know, at what point do groceries start becoming too expensive for you? And what's the item in the grocery store you looked at recently and said, absolutely not? Let's talk about it.
This MAGA supporting company is finding out the hard way. NextEra Energy donated.
So families are struggling to put food on the table. The Federal Reserve Bank of New York is issuing a new warning now about the rise in food insecurity as Americans try to make ends meet. That report saying between the late 2025 and early 2026, there was a sharp rise in households reporting that they had to skip meals, use food banks, and rely on SNAP benefits, or even dip into their savings account if they had any, just to try and cover grocery costs that are nearly 3% higher than a year ago. And 10% of households surveyed said that they didn't have enough food to feed their kids, and their kids had to miss meals. That's more than double the numbers from mid-2020.
Over $5 million to fund Trump's ridiculous $200 million White House ballroom expansion. The project, bigger than the entire White House itself. And what does NextEra Energy get in return? Trump's regime shuts down their massive solar project, Esmeralda 7, without any explanation. This was supposed to be one of the biggest solar farms in the world, set to power nearly 2 million homes in Nevada. The Trump regime sure does hate making things easier and less expensive for everyday Americans. Meanwhile, the Interior Department is making wind and solar projects jump through endless political hoops, causing huge delays, all while Trump complains about green energy ruining his golf course views. Nevada's Republican governor is begging for faster approvals to keep power flowing for mining and AI data centers. But the Trump regime is just dragging their feet as usual. They even tried to cut a nearly finished offshore wind project in the Northeast, until a federal judge stepped in. Want to know the truth? Republicans say they support energy and jobs, but they're cutting green projects that could power millions and eliminate pollution. They'd rather line their own pockets than help the people in their own country. That's the Republican energy plan. We got ours, and we're going to take yours too.
Even don't forget that gas prices has also skyrocketed.
In about 6 to 8 weeks, the national average price of gas could be over $7 a gallon. That is not my opinion. It is the opinion of ExxonMobil Senior Vice President Neil Chapman, who late last week warned that the cost of a barrel of oil could spike to up to $160 due to unprecedented historically low oil inventory levels. Here's the math. It's not perfectly accurate, but it is a logical formula. In February 2026, oil was trading at around $60 a barrel, resulting in a national average price of gas of about $2.98. May 2026, oil is trading at about an average of $90 per barrel, and that resulted in a $4.29 national average price of gas. The result of this is that for every $1 increase in the cost of crude oil, gas prices spike by around 4.4 cents per gallon. If oil were to hit 160 and X equals 2.98 times 160 minus 60 times 0.044, that equals $7.38. If you want to know how much this specifically impacts you where you live, take the price of gas that you paid recently and add $3.08 to that. Now, you might be asking, how can inventory levels be so low right now when we are currently producing more oil than ever before? That is because data matters. And if you look at the data, we are producing only around 3% more than we were under the Biden administration. Oil has been running on a deficit since about the end of April. We are currently producing a lot of oil, but we are exporting and consuming more than we produce, and we are absorbing the buffer that production provides. It's simple supply and demand, but it explains why prices could so violently spike. Because currently we are producing with a buffer. When that buffer goes away, we're fucked. Now here's the clincher. Economists have been stating for the past year that we've been tiptoeing towards stagflation. A $7 national average price of gas would not tiptoe us, it would basically knock that door down because of income elasticity. Income elasticity is basically how sensitive somebody is to price changes. People who are in the middle and lower class tend to have high income elasticity because when prices get more expensive, they modify their consumption behavior. Somebody who is higher income, they're not going to blink twice if they pay $50 more at a gas pump. And this is what creates stagflation, because the Fed is basically powerless to be able to fix or do anything. Typically, when demand falls, the Fed will adjust by lowering interest rates, but they can't do that because if they lower interest rates, prices increase, and prices are already going to increase. So, to anybody who is currently saying, I'm fine with paying more for gas prices if it means freedom or whatever the hell that means, I hope you're also fine with paying almost double that, because that is potentially what is about to happen.
I made a video about Coffee Cabin in Parker, Colorado, and I made some points, but what I didn't notice is they misspelled the Victor Marx for governor sign, okay? Look at that. There's supposed to be an R between the E and the N. What this shows you is a perfect encapsulation of the MAGA movement. They take down the Trump flag and the Israeli flag, put up an American flag, but then they have this wingnut Victor Marx. By the way, how prophetic they misspelled the word governor, because that guy's an absolute complete, I mean, he's a lunatic, a total lunatic. The guy does exorcisms over the phone, a bunch of other stuff I mentioned in my past video. Go check it out. And this is MAGA. And what I actually then started thinking about more is, wait a second, how did nobody at the print shop and the owner who picked this up and paid a bunch of money, I mean, that's got to be a couple hundred, maybe a couple $1,000s, not recognize this misspelling? And obviously he doesn't think it's misspelled, otherwise he wouldn't put it out there. And the only answer is none of them know how to spell governor. I mean, how many people is that? You know, a couple, employees at the print shop, employees at the coffee shop. It's got to be like 10 people. Incredible, truly incredible. What it just tells you more about the MAGA movement than this right here, this entire situation. Okay, lunatic governor, because they will always vote for a Republican, even if the guy is the craziest person on earth, and then they will misspell because I don't know, they don't believe in education. There you go. It's just beautiful, poetic, and exactly what MAGA truly is.
The price for 1 pound of ground beef is now more than the federal minimum wage, guys. How crazy is this? And like, how far are they going to let these grocery prices get before they realize that regular people can just not afford this crap? Like, right now, let's do a comparison. Let's use like a couple big chains at where I live. I'm on the West Coast. So we've got like Albertsons, we've got Vons, we've got Stater Brothers, which I think is kind of like a West Coast thing. All of those are about twice the price of an Aldi, a Walmart, a Winco, a Safeco, or a Heb, or like a Food for Less if you have that. So I will tell you that of all the places that I'm shopping right now, Aldi happens to be my favorite. And no, they don't have everything. And Aldi is like the great value brand at Walmart. That's all they have in the whole store is the Aldi brand. So there's not as much selection, but I like a lot of the stuff that they have there. So I did a price comparison out here. Stater Brothers, which is down the street from me, has amazing butcher department. The meat department is great. So I went and bought my weekly groceries there, $240. Next week, compared it, same level of groceries, $117 at Aldi. So it's completely insane. I think these big chains like Albertsons, Vons, Staters are going to have major financial problems in the future because you can't keep charging people double for what they can literally get across the street and have people keep paying it. Yes, in wealthy neighborhoods, people are going to pay that. Yeah, you're still going to have them do fine in those areas. But for the majority of Americans, if they have any kind of a choice where they can drive up to a half an hour, they're not buying these crazy expensive grocery store brands anymore. Let me know, like, where are you going that's like really affordable groceries that you actually find like it's clean enough and decent enough that you can go there on a regular basis and you actually like it? Because I don't know how these chains think they're going to survive, but they've gone nuts with how much they're charging people.
You know, groceries are expensive when Spam done moved into the luxury section. When I was growing up, we didn't have a whole lot, but we always made it work. Like, wasn't nothing like pork and beans with some hot dogs cut up in it. Maybe some fried bologna and some eggs, especially because the bologna gets that little crunchy crust all around the outside. Ooh, yeah. Or we would do some dressed up ramen noodles with some seasoning magic. Quiet as kept, a good tuna sandwich felt gourmet depending on who fixed it. And then if things got real tight, we made a wish sandwich. And a wish sandwich was basically 2 pieces of bread with some mayo in which you wished you had something in between, but you didn't. Don't judge me. Some of y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. Ever had a syrup sandwich? Psh, them things were good. Have a sandwich with some sliced tomatoes, some mayo, a little bit of salt and pepper. That's a meal. But I'm feeling like with the price of groceries right now, the term struggle meal has taken on a different meaning. Because Spam used to be struggle food, but Spam got a security guard on it now. Bologna expensive, hot dogs cost too much. You literally buy pork and beans just to stare at the empty spaces where hot dogs used to be. So I want to know, like, what struggle meals are y'all making right now to stretch $1? Because I know somebody in these comments got a recipe that could save some lives out here.
So now, some of Americans, they borrow money to get groceries.
Here's the real question. If millions of families are going into debt just to eat, What does that say about the true health of the U.S. economy? A new survey shows that about a quarter of Americans are using buy now, pay later apps like Klarna, Affirm, and Afterpay just.
You ever think that maybe food is so expensive because, I don't know, 42 million people get it for free?
No, nobody who actually understands how any of this works thinks that. SNAP is not why your groceries are expensive. In fact, besides how effective it is in directly reducing food insecurity and lifting people out of poverty, SNAP is an economically efficient program. People use SNAP immediately at grocery stores and local businesses, which is why every dollar invested generates around $1.50 in economic activity, benefiting grocers, farmers, and the broader community. So it helps families eat and is good for the economy. The reason your groceries are so expensive has far more to do with things like Trump's tariffs, which are increasing the cost of some imported foods and agricultural inputs, extreme weather, which is disrupting crop yields and global food supply chains and increasing prices, all while this administration rolls back climate initiatives and climate-smart agriculture programs, severe labor shortages in the agricultural sector tied to immigration crackdowns, ICE raids, and mass deportations, increasing fuel prices due to Trump's war in Iran, and a range of other supply chain and production costs that actually affect food prices. Those are the kinds of things that drive up the cost of groceries, not an economically efficient program that helps low-income families afford food.
This is what shopping looks like in 2026, okay? I just got some groceries to make for dinner. This is everything I got, and it was $40, okay? First of all, I've lost my voice, so that's why I sound like this. Starting off with the most expensive item was this Coke Minis. This was $9. That was the most expensive thing I bought, okay? One bag of chips, one bag of romaine lettuce, French onion dip, and this is the Kroger brand, which is cheaper. I shop at Ralph's or Vaughn's. So this is the knockoff version, basically. One lime, one big bag of ice, one bag of Mexican cheese. How was all of that $40? Like, it actually came out to like $40 and like change. How?
Thing I don't think you MAGA chuds are realizing is the amount of business that the MAGA professionals, that was hard for me to say, the MAGA professionals aren't getting. For example, my girlfriend is currently in the market for a new house. Okay, so she's been sifting through realtors, and she decided to go back and find an old friend of hers that is now a realtor and see if they could work together. So she went onto Facebook to contact her and saw a post about being a MAGA mom. So my girlfriend moved on to one of the million other realtors. And that MAGA mom will never know, she will never be told that she just lost a sale that easily. Times that by however many refuse to work with MAGAs, and it's a lot, guys. If you're MAGA, you have no idea how many of us, who typically have more money than you, will not work with you. It's something to consider, isn't it? Have a good Memorial Day, guys. Chris Powers out.
I got $10 and I'm going to feed my whole family. Let's show you how we shop for it. Let's go. Looks like we're going to do chicken thighs, whole family pack, $3.45. Getting that chicken that cheap really opens up our options to spend a little bit more on our sides here. So let's see if we can find something a little more healthy. Let's go with some quinoa, tricolor, only $2.88 today. Found this Tuscan loaf in the discount bread section. Bacon take, $2.14. So it leaves us about $8.50, got $1.50 to go. Jenny and I went to go like peas and carrots. $1.29 should leave us about 20-30 cents under $10. All right, let's go up here and check our math. Normally we're pretty good, but you never know. You know the drill. $10 or less. We got it? What are we thinking? You got it? What's our total here?
$9.76.
Gotta have my change. Kids will love it. I don't want to brag, but it might be the cheapest, best shopper in the history of shopping. We'll see you next time.
Oil prices in the U.S., we wish they were lower, but gasoline prices in the U.S. are, a little over $4. They're $10 in Europe. They're higher in Asia. They're very high in California. The bigger threat to energy prices in the United States is Democratic green energy policies. They have driven up energy prices far more than a conflict in Iran. And the conflict in Iran will come to an end. We hope the crazy green energy, drive up energy prices policy of the Democrats at federal and state levels, we hope that comes.
Donald Trump is the most corrupt president in American history. It is not close. For nearly 50 years, every president separated their personal finances from the office. Jimmy Carter put his family peanut business in a trust so no one could claim he profited from his decisions. Ronald Reagan liquidated his investments in 1981 and handed them to an independent trustee with no contact and no control. George H.W. Bush did it. Bill Clinton did it. George W. Bush did it. Barack Obama kept his money in treasury bonds and owned no stock as president. Joe Biden held no individual stocks either. None were required to by law. They did it because they understood public office as a public trust, not a personal trading desk. Trump is shredding that tradition. No divestment or blind trust. His sons run a global business empire that cuts deals with foreign governments. His son-in-law manages billions for Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the UAE while serving as Trump's volunteer envoy on the war in Iran. He launched a personal cryptocurrency that foreign buyers use to funnel money straight to his family. And now we learn his account made 3,700 trades in a single quarter, more than 40 a day, in companies like NVIDIA, Oracle, Microsoft, and Boeing, every one with billions riding on decisions his administration makes. We must put a stop to this. Ban stock trading for the president, vice president, cabinet, and every member of Congress. No loopholes.
So we did a video a week ago where I went and I bought hamburgers, buns, oil, and potatoes. And everyone said I was a liar for saying that it cost me $50 to buy those 4 items. So now we're going to go through Walmart, which is the cheapest store in the United States. And we're going to buy a pack of hamburger patties, a pack of buns, a bag of potatoes, and a jug of oil. The total came to over $47. Plus tax, it was just a touch over $50. So you watch the video and you'll see that I wasn't making it up. Welcome to America, where groceries are more expensive than eating out. $57.48 for 12 burgers. Now a big enough thing of vegetable oil to fry the French fries, $11.18. Farmhouse, bigger burger, hearty white hamburger buns, 8 of them. And a bag of potatoes, 5 pounds of white potatoes, $4.08.
It is no secret to any of you that Trump and his cabinet lackeys have completely failed at bringing down grocery prices. I mean, in fact, in the last month, grocery prices rose at their fastest rate in 4 years, which I'm sure you have noticed when you've gone to the grocery store. But the Trump administration is still lying about it. And their attempts to spin their own failure on this have been laughable at best. I mean, here was Trump's Agriculture Secretary, Brooke Rollins, trying to explain why, actually, it's not that expensive to feed your family right now.
We've run over 1,000 simulations. It can cost around $3 a meal for a piece of chicken, a piece of broccoli, corn tortilla, and one other thing. And so there is a way to do this that actually will save the average American consumer money.
I mean, 1,000 simulations spit out a piece of chicken, a piece of broccoli, a corn tortilla, and one other thing. Sounds filling, Brooke. Have you tried it? Have you tried that as a filling meal? I doubt it. I mean, the internet immediately jumped on those comments, of course, mocking up example after example of what an affordable dinner looks like in Donald Trump's America. And some of them are pretty funny. The one with the single red M&M is probably my favorite. You can see on the screen right there, probably my favorite.
So have we seen this guy here? So evidently he is a Trump supporter. He voted for Trump all 3 times. And he has a small business where he exports, I guess, wheels from China. And he is upset because the new tariffs that have been placed on China will drastically hurt his business. So he took to TikTok and complained about that. And then when people said, well, I'm sorry, you fucked around and found out, this is the find out part, he came back on and crying, well, not literally crying, but complaining and whining about how people are taking joy in him and his family's suffering. This man is a 3-time Trump supporter. He was aware the tariffs were going to take effect. He just thought that somehow magically Trump would have in place the infrastructure that manufacturing could be switched here to the United States before the tariffs took an effect. So obviously he has no clue what kind of commitment that would take and what kind of time frame that would take. That's not something that was going to happen in the first year of Trump's presidency or any of the years of Trump's presidency. It's going to take a good decade if we truly try to switch manufacturing from overseas back to the United States, and not to mention the cost of goods being manufactured in the United States. So he's on here crying that people are being mean because it's his real family that is suffering. Yet he's aware of the Trump policies enough to know about the tariffs. Then he obviously knew about the attacks on marginalized communities, the attacks on immigrants, the attacks on the trans community, the attacks on the working class, the attack on our Social Security, on our Medicare, our Medicaid, the attack on the Affordable Care Act. I bet you dollars to donuts he is benefiting. If he's a small business and an independent business, I'll bet you dollars to donuts he's through his state's health exchange that was set up by the ACA, and that's how him and his family are getting health insurance. But he didn't care about any of that. He didn't care how it was affecting any other person when he voted for Trump. He just wanted to see those brown people gone and his grocery prices down and America being great again. Yet look, you fucked around, you found out, now you're feeling the pain. Don't come crying to us, expecting us to give you sympathy.
This is a PSA for all of the privileged, rich, wealthy Americans. Hi, my name is Bridget. I'm 32 years old. I work full-time. And my paycheck does not give me enough to even get the bare minimums, okay? I had a savings account and I just had to use about half of it just to get by until my next paycheck. Okay, and the reality of that is once my savings is gone, I don't have a crutch. I don't have any more crutches. And the stress of going grocery shopping, y'all, I'm at Aldi, okay, which is quite literally probably one of the cheaper grocery options. And the way that I have to pinch my pennies just to make sure I have enough food until the next paycheck is quite literally wild. So to all of my single humans out there, you're doing amazing. And, we're a one income family. My fur babies don't work. I wish they did. I wish there was an opportunity. But what are we supposed to do? Like, when is enough enough? Because this kind of living is unsustainable. Unsustainable. Meanwhile, y'all are out here driving your Teslas and your Cybertrucks and your G-Wagons. Y'all, I'm in a Chevy Equinox, okay? And I'm starting to think I need to trade it in because I can't afford life anymore. When is enough enough? I would love to know. I would absolutely love to know. It's pretty sad. It's pretty sad. I have a college degree. I am overqualified for my job. I am severely, severely underpaid. What are we supposed to do? What's the answer? Because I think the next step for me, I'm going to have to look into food stamps, and I bet you my salary is above the threshold. But obviously, I'm $85.26 away from being in the negative. What are we supposed to do? How am I supposed to buy groceries for 2 weeks with $85 only to have 26 cents left in my bank account? When is enough enough?
What this tariff stuff has taught me is you don't actually have to be that smart to own a business in the United States. Because what the fuck did you mean you didn't know the tariffs would affect you? You import materials from outside of the country, or your machinery you use to manufacture the products here are made abroad.
Anyway, I don't know how we're gonna go about this, but it's very hard to live in the US right now because of the Trump insane policies. Anyway, tell me what you think down in the comment, and thank you for watching Great Minds Black. See you in the next video.
Thank you for watching Great Minds Blacks.